Thank you very much, Wendy. It's a great honour to be asked to come and speak here. And I wanted to start, rather than introducing myself in any way, just by, if I could just play a quick film to begin with. We haven't quite finished, actually. We're premiering the feature documentary at the Sheffield Documentary Film Festival on the 12th of June, and then it's going to be in Picture House cinemas and on TV after that. So you are the first group of people to see the opening 2 minutes, which I'd really like to play to you and share with you. So without further ado, here's the beginning of the film.
Yes, come on. Yeah. Ivy, don't hit me. Come on. Ivy, you mustn't hit. Hey, Missy. Okay, you wait there, Al. Yeah, we are going to go outside. We are. Ivy, come on. Okay.
I'm David Bond. I'm 40 years old. I've just got a new job. I'm the marketing director of Nature. I'm a father. This is Ivy. She's 5 and she loves the television.
How much do you love the telly?
100 billion. I love sitting in front of it all day long.
Why?
It's so relaxing.
This is Albie. He's 3 and he loves guns.
How much could you shoot a tree?
Yeah, you could shoot a tree quite a lot, I reckon, before it fell down. Would it be good to dead a tree?
Pretty good.
This is my wife, Katie. She's busy.
Can you take Ivy to school on Tuesday?
No, I can't do that.
Is that because you're working?
Yes.
We all live in a house with my mother, Helen. She's 80.
We didn't have computer games. We didn't have computers.
Like all parents, I want my children to be happy. As a child, I was happiest playing outdoors. When I got back from school, I'd throw down my books and go straight out to play. My children don't do that. Across the Western world, children spend less and less time outdoors. The generational shift to an indoor existence has been strongly linked to a sharp decline in children's well-being. Cases of childhood obesity, depression, and behavioural difficulties are at a record high. My children's generation is going to be the first in human history to have a lower life expectancy than their parents. And a recent UNICEF report found that things are particularly bad in the UK.
We were tasked with looking at why British children were the unhappiest in the world.
The first question was, think about when you had a really good day and tell us about it. The consistency across the countries, across the age groups, across the social classes was really quite extraordinary because it was all about being with my family, being outside with fun things to do.
In Britain, families were inside, they were worried, and their houses were littered with loads of stuff that they didn't really want.
I can't persuade my children to go outside. The guys that are good at persuading them to do things are brands. Modern marketing is a mighty persuader. I want to use it to sell the ultimate free wonder product, the outdoors. I've got 2 months to develop and launch a nature marketing campaign to get children, including my children, outside.
Thank you very much. Well, I was quite nervous showing that to you. I should have said, actually, before I started, it hasn't been graded, i.e. the colours are all over the place, and the sound mix hasn't been done yet, so it's going to look nicer than that. But that is the opening, and you're the first people to see it, so thank you very much for watching. So, like I said in the intro, I think I used to be pretty wild when I was growing up, and now I'm definitely not so wild. I used to throw down my books and go straight out to play when I got home from school, and I really don't do that anymore, and nor do my children. But here at Flourish, I think there's a group of people who are coming together who might be able to change that in a way. Not just my wildness, but generally the wildness of children out there. So what I wanted to do was very briefly talk about the problem. I know there have been lots of brilliant speakers here. who've talked about what the problem is, so I really want to whiz through that. I've also got loads I want to do, so I'm going to hurry up. The first thing to say is that there is a crisis in childhood. I think we all know that. That's highlighted by the levels, as I mentioned in the intro there, of obesity, depression, and ADHD. But as was said this morning so brilliantly, when you talk to children, you don't feel gloomy about that. There's a huge amount of hope about what we could achieve and how, I think, with relatively small changes, we could alter things for the better. So what is the scale of the issue? Well, there are certain age groups around the 12 to 14s who are on 6 hours of media a day. Now, this is just a colossal amount of time spent. Where do we draw the line in the sand? Where do we say, no, that's too much, we don't want to have any more? It's a question that we've got to ask ourselves. We've got to define our boundaries and know what is enough. This advert I saw in the Tube the other day, it's for a JP Morgan ISA. And I found the tone of it sickening, but also fascinating. It's the language around the fact that you can invest in missed bedtimes, and that somehow is an investment that might, in some insane way, pay off in the future, which I hope you'll all agree, I just don't think it possibly can. And yet these are the kinds of messages that we, as adults, are being bombarded with. And I think that they're very questionable. So there's been a huge shrinkage in the amount of time that children go outside. And in the film, what we're trying to do is make an argument stick that says something like, there have been these enormous changes. There's a huge shrinkage in the amount of time spent outside. What's the link? Is there a link? And what might it look like? What's the mechanism of it? And what's the downside? Well, I'm a father, as you saw, and I reckon Ivy, my daughter, who's about to be 6, has got about 3,000 days of her childhood left. It's the kind of geeky counting thing that I do. And I think she's well on her way to spending roughly a third of that time in contact with or being communicated to by brands. Just to be clear about that, being in environments where brands can communicate easily to her. And that deeply, deeply worries me. The thing that she does least of, I'll quickly whiz through her time, her average day. Third at school, 15% TV, about the same on the computer, 10% eating, 5% in the car, 4% on the phone, 4% in the bathroom, and around 4% playing outdoors. Now, all the evidence seems to say that that's the thing that's best for her, and it's the thing that out of the vast majority of activities that I identified, it's the thing that she does least of. And yet when she goes outside, as I'm sure you all have this experience as well, I see her transform. I see her face change. She gets a look about her of wildness, of joy, and of gentle gentle yet intense focus, if that makes any sense. She's got this ability to concentrate and attend to the complex world of nature in so much more a fascinating way than she does with, for example, the iPad or the telly. So it's really clear, to me anyway, and I think to lots of the people who I talk to in the film, that the outdoors is critical for this kind of proper development. And Sue made the case, lots of the speakers have made the case that that's the case. So why is nature off the menu, given that it is this amazing free wonder product that seems to have such a powerful effect on children's lives? And the answer is, I think, because there are some pretty powerful barriers in the place, not least of which is me and other parents being afraid of stranger danger, which I think is an irrational fear, but also worrying about physical safety on the roads, a genuine and sensible fear to have. We're more indoors orientated ourselves. Certainly I am much more than my mother was, or is, and we're much less knowledgeable about nature. I'm less able to answer the questions that my children ask me than my mother was able to answer my questions. So I'm a major barrier. But then, as we know, there's also the huge increase in the availability of couch-based or screen-based activities, the TV, the internet, and so forth. There's also the massive slash and burn of physical spaces, which has just decreased hugely. Nature's off the menu at schools. I don't need to tell you about that. It's in the media everywhere. Green space is shrinking. Young people are seen as a danger and as a threat, and they're being pushed back into their bedrooms. They're being compressed down into small spaces where A, they're more marketable to, and B, they're more under control. And I find that deeply upsetting. Jay Griffiths said an amazing thing. It used to say, when the Enclosures Act came in and we were kind of barred from roaming freely, keep out signs appeared on fences. And now the keep out signs are on the children's bedrooms. And the final barrier is, I think, our obsession with money. Look at the JP Morgan advert, for example. So anyway, enough doom and gloom. You've heard it all, and I'm sure you feel it as keenly as I do. The question is, what can we do about it? And the insight I had, because it's my job as a filmmaker to try and make things palatable, not to people necessarily like you, although I hope you enjoy the film, but I think you, I hope, already understand why I'm so exercised by this. But I think there are a lot of people who don't, who haven't thought about it in this way. So what I need is a hook. And the hook that I've come up with is that I've appointed myself as the marketing director of Nature. So what qualifies me for that? Well, nothing at all. I've never had a board-level post in any organization, and I've never done any marketing before. Some of you who are involved with encouraging children to play outside more might think that you're the marketing directors of Nature. But if you do think you are, then you need to take a long look in the mirror, because the sales of your product is crashing. And I want to play a little second clip from the film which highlights this. I've slightly gone out of order, sorry. I want to play a clip from the film that highlights the kind of lack of space that's left for children and show one of the experts that we've talked about. Are you ready for a bit of video? Great.
Jaak Panksepp is a world-recognized psychologist, psychobiologist, and neuroscientist. He studies the mechanism of emotion. He's famous for proving that animals laugh by tickling rats.
Well, play is important because it's one of our basic tools for living that evolution gave us. And the real question is, why did evolution build this kind of playful mechanism into the brain? And we started studying that in the late 1970s and found it was very easy to study scientifically. People said, oh, play is haphazard and occurs randomly. No, you're hungry for play. All of our kids are hungry for play. They have to have a certain amount of play. We don't know how much, but they have to have play to become fully human. Since we're social creatures, we can't live alone. We can't survive. We can't reproduce. We have to have mechanisms to make us fully social, and play brings you there, tells you the social rules, what you can do to others. In the natural world, you develop your place in society through play.
So take play out of a society. Yeah. What does the society begin to do? What would the symptoms be?
It's a good thought question. I think if you took the opportunity for play out of every young developing child, we would have an adult society that looks like the Lord of the Flies. Everything is kind of an unstructured mob doing stuff.
I'll show you where we play. We play up in this square. There's the sign that says no board games, but we don't listen. We just play whatever we want to do. And
who put up the sign saying no ball games?
The housing office that owns all the houses.
And they don't want you to play any ball games?
No.
Why is that?
It makes like too much noise and everybody hates it. People moan at us for playing board games, but we don't listen to them.
I'm glad to hear it. And what would happen if they caught you playing ball games?
I think we'll just get an ASBO, and that's...
You get an ASBO?
Yeah. This is called the Curly Whirly Slope. Well, because everybody goes, oh, meet me at the Curly Whirly Slope,
And that means this?
Yeah. This is the green grass where I take my dogs and I just let them do what they want.
This little bit of green here? Because it's quite a small area. There's quite a lot of dog mess in this little area, isn't there?
But East End Dimes do come and trim it and just try and grow like the patches that have not come up and all that.
But it's not a very big space, is it?
No.
Is it dangerous to walk on it in case you tread in poo?
You just have to look where you're going, really. My dog comes on here a lot. She likes it.
And what other bits are there? Show me.
There's that bit of green with the big bushy tree.
And what's this bit called? Do you call this bit? So that, what do you call that bit there?
We just call that the square grass.
The square grass.
This is the long road, we call.
The long road?
Yeah. And we don't really have a name for this sort of grass.
They're building quite a big building here.
Yeah.
What did this used to be?
It used to be a grass.
Grass?
Yeah.
Do you miss it?
Yeah, because it was actually quite nice grass.
This has got to be like one of the biggest bits of green that you've got.
Yeah.
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 There's a poo there.
Oh. There is a lot of dog muck on here.
There's another one here.
It would be nice to turn this bit of green into a play park. This used to be the greenery as well. There was quite a bit of greenery around here, and
So this was all greenery here?
this area used to be a really big area around, like, because they've put the buildings onto it, like, they've took a lot of space from us, and it's not really fair, I don't think.
Very fond of Mason. He's been an amazing help in the film in lots and lots of ways. And I asked him if I could play that today, and he said, yes, please. So he was very excited that it was going out for the first time. I slightly jumped ahead because what I was talking about was whether you think maybe you're marketing nature. And if you think you are, your sales, like I said, have really fallen off a cliff. And yet the sales of the competitors, namely screens, have been absolutely rocketing. So I took it on myself to start a campaign. And inside the film, I launched a campaign called Project Wild Thing to get children outdoors doing stuff, to communicate to them that it's fun, that it's free, that it's good for them, and to communicate to parents that that's the case as well. And this was my kind of motto, my mental motto, which was let's flog nature. So I went about it, first of all, by meeting with this amazing outfit called Good for Nothing, who's still working with us and with our partner organisations now in getting this message out there. And they arranged a huge weekend in King's Cross where we started mapping out what the barriers are. We had about 60 creatives from all sorts of different walks of life, some from advertising agencies, copywriters, people. And they were all consultants, that's the word I was after. They were all really fantastic. So we mapped out the barriers and we started building mood films to try and express what we felt the problem was. And I'm just going to play you one of those. I've got so much I want to show you in so little time. Quick.
Big city life, me try forget my pressure now ease up no matter how hard me try. Big city life, in my heart have no base. And right now Babylon dip on me case. Big city life, try forget by pressure now ease up no matter how hard me try. Big city life, my heart have no base. And right now Babylon dip on me case.
So we were basically building mood films to try and express to ourselves what we felt the problem was. And then we started building ideas for the kinds of campaigns that you could launch to persuade children that they should go outside. Rebellious by nature was one of the great ideas that we had, this idea that there's something in nature that is challenging and almost cheeky. We really like that. We came up with the idea of a wild time app. You say how long you've got free, and it gives you ideas of things to do. We tested that on an estate in Tottenham. It was really successful and fun. Sorry, I jumped ahead. We actually built that one, as I'm about to tell you. We came up with the idea of like a nature party pack. Another idea for an advertising campaign was instill confidence, this sense that nature can give you confidence. This is more aimed at parents. We also came up with the idea of a thing we called the Out and About Pack, which was an intervention at maternity hospitals to encourage new parents to think about how vital it is. They hear a lot about the importance of breastfeeding and of parental love. Very little is talked about the importance of the outdoors to even very young babies. Graffiti was an idea of making graffiti on walls that would lead children to natural wild spaces. The Wild Thing Army was an idea we had. And this, I love this one, and I still really want to make this. This is a schools challenge, a wildness challenge. classes within schools could compete against each other. Who's the wildest class? But you could have inter-school competitions as well. What's the wildest thing you did this weekend? So we mapped all these ideas out. It was really exciting. And then we did lots of market research. That was in a primary school in West London, asking them all these different ideas. Talked to lots of parents, talked to lots of planners in advertising areas, and we boiled it down. We came up with a logo, and I co-opted Ivy into licking a frog. And we got loads of advertising space free from a big outdoor media agency. Of course, the irony doesn't escape me that, you know, effectively I'm now advertising the thing that is sort of supposed to be anti-adverts. The outdoors is a great place to avoid adverts in general, by the way, unless you run into the Sophie Dahl poster that you were shown earlier this morning. And we got this up all around the UK. It was really exciting. And that's it in Manchester, Piccadilly. We made a jingle. I've got to play that.
Project Wild Thing. Project Wild Thing. Project Wild Thing. Let the kids go wild!
So we ended up on radio shows playing that, all sorts of things. We built the Wildtime app, as I gave away earlier, and you can see that now, and that's being developed further at the moment. We made the Out and About pack. This is really exciting news. This has been made. It's all been checked by doctors. The NHS have embraced it. It's going into the packs that... discharge packs that new parents get when they leave hospitals. And a scientific study is just beginning to find out whether it has any effect. We're testing, A, whether it makes parents more likely to take newborns outdoors, and B, how well those newborns settle compared to parents who don't get this pack. So can't wait to find out how that goes. We built a website, got loads of pledges, people pledging to spend as much time on outdoors as they do on the screens. This is still going, projectwildthing.com, and you're about to hear from Cass how we're going to carry this forward after the film launches. And we also came up with this idea that you could come up with ideas about things to do outside. And Tim Gill was actually the first guy to come up with an idea. He's not on there, but he encouraged everyone to go blackberrying. We built a manifesto, got on, you know, all the ordinary stuff that, you know, Facebook and Twitter. And it's been really exciting to see why my computer's crashed. That's funny. Oh dear, that doesn't look good. Oh, there we are. And we also have been really amazed by the kind of range of organisations who've wanted to become involved with us. So from mental health charities, children's charities, even some brands who you might not kind of necessarily think relate to this have said, actually, we're interested in this, we're interested in helping. Not to mention, of course, all the wonderful partners we've had in the making of the film, including the National Trust and the RSPB and Play England. I know Kath was speaking yesterday. Yeah, this isn't looking good. Let's see what I can do about that. Just talk amongst yourselves. Okay, it doesn't matter. I'll just. So the other thing we did was realize very quickly that we were running out of money. Okay, the big brands like Coca-Cola and Disney, they have masses, huge war chests with which they can get themselves into our children's minds. And we just will never have that. And in a way, who would want nature to be a product really anyway? I mean, it's a kind of fun experiment, right? But ultimately, what would it look like? Kind of queues for woods instead of for Apple stores. I mean, it would just be bizarre. Every time you walk past a billboard, it would be for a tree instead of for a... You're kind of replacing a problem with a problem. But we realized that what we needed really to do was, in some ways, go more guerrilla. And this was one of the tricks that we pulled to do this, which was a viral film that's been viewed loads. Oh,
iPhone.
I'm just going to start that again.
Got a brand new app for the iPhone. What kind of phone do you have?
I have an iPhone.
iPhone, which one? Can I have a look? What serial number have you got? No, it's completely free. So the idea of the app, it gets you more in tune with nature. So the idea is to... but it's okay, don't worry about it. I mean, the idea is simply just to... Do you have insurance?
No.
You don't?
Why did you do that?
Well, you spend a bit more time outside now, won't you?
So she obviously signed the release form very kindly and really enjoyed it. He was a magician. He'd switched her phone. I don't need to tell you that. It's obvious. But yes, we very quickly realized that there are lots of big brands co-opt natural symbols for their own good anyway. There's a lot of biomimicry that goes on. I mean, you don't need to look far to see that there are natural logos everywhere we look. We decided that maybe this was an infringement of our copyright. So we started sticking these signs up on people who use biomimicry to sell non-natural products. We've got an idea of a war chest of, that anyone using biomimicry to sell non-natural products ought to contribute a small tithe of their marketing budget to market nature. We also co-opted some estate agent signs and put up signs saying, actually, you should go outside. It's much cheaper than buying a house, and it's free. We noticed that there are lots of no ball game signs, which we really strongly object to, as I know lots of people here do. And so we created no balls and left them lying around under no ball game signs and encouraged children to play with the no balls. I've showed you the Nature app already. So that's kind of where we've got to. It's been a really exciting ride, and the film is launching on the 12th of June at Sheffield. It's going to be, stop. It's going to be at Picture House Cinemas sometime late June, early July, and then it's going to be on, it looks like Channel 4, hopefully prime time, which is really exciting. They don't normally take films like this prime time, but they're talking about it at the moment. So we're really keyed up by that. How am I doing for time? I reckon I've got 5 minutes. After me comes Cass, who has been really instrumental in building the Wild Network. Now, the idea is that if we just play the film, people will see it as a piece of entertainment. It'll come, it'll go, and it'll be over. And we really didn't want that to happen, and nor did the people who've been supporting the film. And we've come together, and I know a lot of you know about this already, and some of you here have supported the film in loads of ways, so thank you for that. But we're launching the Wild Network, and Cass is going to talk about that afterwards. We see the film not as answering every single question on this issue. It would be impossible to do that, but as being an awareness raiser. We want it just to cause this issue to bubble up in consciousness by having a big piece of documentary media like this. And then the Wild Network is going to take over. And I implore you, if you can in any way, to support either the film or the Wild Network, please do that. And that's me finished, except to say that if I'm allowed, I'd love to show you a really brief montage of the campaign that we ran during the film. I think it's about 2.5 minutes. Got time? Yep. Okay.
Hello, Shambhala.
This is me launching it at a Shambhala. Why am I telling you that? You can see that on the screen. I'll leave now. Thanks.
My name's David Bond, and I'm here today to launch a campaign called Project Wild Thing, to try to get kids out and into nature.
Seems like everybody's got a price. I wonder how they sleep at night. When the sale comes first and the truth comes second, just stop for a minute and smile. Why is everybody so serious?
Play freely. Go outside into the green space. We're running a project called Project Wild Thing, and we're trying to encourage 1 million more kids to be connected with nature.
Everybody looks so they're right. Can you feel that? Yeah, we're paying with love tonight. It's not about the money. We don't need your money. We just want to make the world dance. Forget
Are you from Sky? We're running a campaign to try and get kids to watch less telly. How funny is that? You like make the telly and we're trying to stop them watching it. ProjectWildThing.com. It's a campaign to try and get kids outdoors into nature. Kids spend too much time on screens. Stop buying iPads. Take your children outdoors. You've bought enough iPads now. That's enough iPads.
It's the Afton School.
Nature is the ultimate playground for children. Take your children outdoors. Let them frolic free like spring lambs.
campaign to try and reconnect children to nature. It's called Project Wild Thing. Please could you sign our pledge at projectwildthing.com. Thank you very much. Have a great day. Thank you.
Forget about the price tag.